Hello everyone and welcome back to Southern Wealth. I hope you're doing very well. If you do enjoy the content, please consider dropping that like and subscribe. So, quick update. Treasury seem to have stabilized a little bit. We have a lot of news this week coming out with CPI and PPI being the number one, particularly also some information on the job market. If trueflation is correct again, then we should see potentially either inflation at 2% or even slightly below it. Now, China just reported deflation again, so negative CPI, but the most concerning part is the negative PPI, so the inflation of the companies, if you will. It just hit minus 3.3%. This has been like in contraction for 29 months, 30 months or so. And they've been printing money non-stop. They've been using stimulus as much as possible. They've been injecting billions of dollars, and they can't get at least inflation at zero. This is what I've been talking about. Now, this is another example, another situation in which we've been talking about here a lot of things here in the channel for a long time, but then we see a real life example. I've been making the argument that inflation and interest rates are very little connected, because as long as you have the banks as gatekeepers of liquidity, yes, if you print money and you give it directly to people, you do have inflation, just like what happened in the US with the stimulus checks. Then you have inflation. But if you just lower rates and you print money in the financial system and the banks decide who gets loans and who doesn't, then you don't have inflation. Actually, you can even have disinflation or outright deflation, because interest rates are the cost of money that apply to the entire economy. If you lower the cost of money, then it's another cost that just came down. So when people say, oh no, but if interest rates are very low, people just borrow a lot of money and they will just use it, and that will drive inflation. And I said, again, if the banks are the gatekeepers of liquidity, no. Because for 80% of the population, when they go to a bank and they say, hey, I've noticed that interest rates are 1%, can you give me a 100K loan? The bank will say, for the 80% of the population, they will say, are you crazy? You have two mortgages, a student loan, a car loan, credit card debt, student loan debt, forget about it. Oh, Mr. Kevin O'Leary from the Shark Tank, do you want $100 million? Sure, take it. What do you think he does with that money? He buys real estate stocks. You get the drill. They buy assets, so asset prices go up, and you have this wealth inequality going like this. That's the reason why. And that's why you don't see inflation as people would expect. Now, what puzzles me is how can you get to the conclusion of something else? One thing is if we've never seen it before, and we kind of just trying to think about what would happen if we do this, what would happen if we do. We don't know, because we haven't done it before. But in the case of inflation and interest rates, Japan did it for 30 years. No inflation. China has been doing it non-stop now for 2 years. They're fighting deflation. Europe has reduced rates 7 or 8 times. I lost count. What is happening to inflation in the Eurozone? Down and down and down, according to the specialists. As the ECB is lowering rates, the inflation in Europe should be spiking, right? No. Down, 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 down. Same thing for the UK, same thing for Canada, same thing for the Nordics, same thing for Singapore, same thing for Australia. So you get the drill. So as they have been lowering rates, inflation has been coming down. But wait a minute, all these economists have never made any money in the market. They've been telling me that inflation should be going up like crazy. I say, really? What were the interest rates in Europe since 2011? Oh, they were negative or 0%. Oh, that means that inflation must have been skyrocketing, right? No, average inflation 1.1. Okay, what about the US? The US had the lowest interest rates in history, and the average inflation was 1.6%, which by historical standards is very low. Oh, but all these economists told me otherwise. You see my point? Singapore, Japan, the Nordics, Switzerland, parts of Asia, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, China, US, Europe, all had very low interest rates, all of them printing money, all of them no inflation. So I hope that this finally, China has been ramping stimulus, and the deflation is getting worse, not better. So please stop with this, we need higher interest rates to fight inflation, this kind of idiot commentary. No, you don't. You actually need the opposite. But that's for a different story. So the US is meeting with India and with China at the same time. China in London. India kind of went to the background. I think we are very close to an Indian deal. That's my feeling. But everyone is so focused on China, nobody's paying attention, which is good. To me, the big concerns remain the same. Iran, Ukraine, and Taiwan potentially developing into something nasty. So those to me are the things that concern me the most. And guess what? Those are the things that pretty much nobody talks about. All they talk about is the bonds, the yields, the tariffs. We are all aware of it. We are all seeing it. It's always the thing that you're not paying attention that can screw you. Now let's go into, stocks are kind of stable, gold as well, etc. Crypto is getting a little bit of a pump. Ethereum is close to 2,600. Bitcoin is at 108.7 at the moment. I'm very happy with my lottery tickets. Barn, as you guys know, I got in at 300 plus K market cap. It's now 700, 800. I think it got as high as 1.5 million. And Home Alley that I went in at around 900K is now 3.5 million. So very happy with it. I think all the others will still do very, very well, particularly as the liquidity keeps on ramping up. As you guys know, that's the key. That's the things that matters the most. If everything happens as I'm expecting, I do expect that CPI to come low, to come better than expected. And I've seen people panicking because the CPI on Trueflation at the moment is 1.9%. And the reason why they're panicking is because at some point it was 1.35%. Yeah, this is where we are now on Twitter. So people panic because inflation has gone to 1.8 or 1.9%, which should be a dream, right? Things that surprise me, but in any case, different story. Elon Musk has deleted a lot of his tweets. I hope that this is some sort of peaceful coexistence. You don't need to be the best friends of each other. You don't need to be the fans of each other. But be careful the things that are being said, particularly when it involves indirectly crimes, right? So that to me is just a sensible position to have. I'm curious to see what's going to happen to the tax bill. Basically, if there's going to be some updates or not. I think at the end of the day, the key is to keep the taxes that they were approved in 2017. That's the key. Whatever you can get on top of it, the better. So Monday's been quite a quiet day. We should be seeing some more activity towards later in the week. And of course, so this week we have inflation data. Next week we have the Fed meeting. So very curious to see what excuses they will come up, particularly if there's the deal signed with India in the meantime. I'm actually between now and the Fed meeting, I'm very curious to see what Powell's going to say, because he's been very, very political, because he had zero problem cutting rates when Kamala was trying to win the election. Then with much worse data, no problem in cutting. Now with much better data, he's worried about potential future things yet, but cutting in the middle of inflation actually going up, that he was not concerned. Very weird. And with that, thank you very much, guys. Slow start of the week, but stable start of the week. Very curious to see some of these developments. Don't forget, like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.